So I was having major abdominal surgery, and I decided that during my recovery might be a cool project to build a kit guitar. I went to fretwire.com and got this very cool R-style guitar. Unfortunately, an unforeseen side effect of the surgery was I received nerve damage from my hands. And due to that, my dad soon became involved in this project, so this became something he and I worked on. And it's been a really cool thing. Just want to document the progress. I explained this project to one of my friends and showed her that this was really based on a Rickenbacker 360 with the midnight blue coloring. And a few days later, I received this very awesome watercolor painting of rendition of what it should look like when we're finished, and now hangs in my office right beside the guitar, and it's very cool. Initially, we used sanding seal on all the wood, just paintbrushed it on and sanded the heck out of it, make sure everything was sealed up, and tried to get it as slick as a button. We then went to our local paint store and got lacquer primer and lacquer paint. Unfortunately, lacquer only comes in clear and you have to get it dyed, and the minimum quantity they would sell us was a gallon. So we wound up getting a gallon of clear lacquer and had a quart of it tinted to the color that we liked, which, as I said earlier, we're shooting for the midnight blue on what the Rickenbacker has. As we were shooting, we put enough coats of lacquer primer on there that we did not expect to make it to wood, no matter how much sanding we had to do on it. In our excitement to get this project going, we actually started shooting primer before we set the neck. So we wound up actually having to sand out the pocket for the neck joint and sanding out part of the neck so we could actually apply the glue to it and get it going. So as you see, now we have the neck actually set into the guitar, and we're shooting primer one more time. When we set out on this project, we didn't expect to make a video. Just wanted to take pictures with our cell phone to document the whole process. So some of these pictures aren't the quality we'd like, but we did want to just kind of document the whole process from start to finish. I was starting to get impatient and wanted to see something turn blue. So we started shooting the blue paint, and as expected, we found more and more blemishes, so we went back to sanding yet again. After copious amounts of sanding, we started shooting blue again, and it was right. It was starting to look pretty good. We like this. We knew we were getting pretty close, but we weren't quite there yet. So we used this coat. We did some wet sanding, some very fine sandpaper, and started putting some more coats of paint on there. And we knew we were getting really close. It was close to being polished and what we thought was getting ready to be finished. Now you're seeing what we thought would be the final coat of paint. It was there, it was slick, it was ready to be polished. The only thing we needed to do was scrape the white binding around the back edge. And my hands weren't steady enough to do it. My dad didn't think his hands were steady enough to do it, so I enlisted the help of my brother. He used his pocket knife to do it, and in doing so, although it looked pretty good, he slipped up in a few places and put a few scrapes in the back. I was going to be okay with that because who's going to see the back of your guitar? But my dad wasn't happy, so guess what? We go back to sanding yet again and shooting more paint. So the day we actually started shooting paint again turned out to be one of those humid Georgia days, and the paint flashed. It just made me sick and nauseous. You can see it's turning white on us. I actually had a friend from Randy Wood's guitar down in Bloomingdale, Georgia, and he gave me some hints. He actually suggested while the paint was wet, we put some heat lamps or some very hot lights on it and slow the drying process down, hopefully getting some of that air out. And surprisingly enough, it actually worked. The flash came completely out before the paint actually dried and cured, and turns out we were very happy, and this was the last coat of paint. Now the only thing that's left on finishing up the paint is actually polishing it out. And we used a very fine car polish, and we were able to get this down to a high gloss mirror finish. Everything polished out really well. You'll see here we were taking the tape off the fretboard, getting ready to finish it up. The next step, we still needed to scrape the binding, and Dad took a stab at that, so we got that taken care of. The only thing that was left now was putting all the hardware on. And I have to give credit to the fretwire.com. The kit they sell had everything. We didn't need to go out and buy anything. Well, I take that back. I did have to go out, and I prefer locking lugs on my straps. So I didn't use their strap locks, but I went and bought my own strap locks. But you can see we put all the hardware on, came with the pickups, pick guard, everything. And it fit well, so we just had to drill a few pilot holes and get that in there. And I think you'll agree by the final picture, it actually looked like a professional guitar. So here it is, one more picture here in the sunlight with all the strings in it. The pickups are wired up, sounds great, plays great. I couldn't be happier. If you got any comments or questions, please leave them below and let me know what you think. Thanks.